Let us pray. We invoke your blessing on this day of celebration for all the gifts our students share with each other and our college, gifts of intellect, service, compassion, strength, love, creativity, and song. We thank you for creating us equal, yet unique to be the individuals we see here today. For it is in our differences that we make our community stronger. As we celebrate these students' achievements, may we also celebrate you. We thank all those who have inspired us to grow, pushed us out of our comfort zones, engaged us in hearty debate, and allowed us to pursue our own knowledge. As Dr. Seuss once said, we are meant to move mountains. Which mountain will you move? This is our task, but it is no small feat. As we move forward from this year, if we can't move a mountain, we pray for the knowledge, hope, courage, and the freedom to climb. Amen.
Please be seated. Good afternoon and welcome to the first official year-end event as we near completion of the 2016-17 academic year. This honors convocation is first before any other event because it is important that we acknowledge scholarship and those students who have excelled during their time at SC. In the program, you will note names of students who have excelled in many different ways, including the students who have earned top grade point averages listed in the honor roll on the third page of your program. Additionally, this ceremony recognizes students for academic achievements. Achievements such as presenting papers, participating in internships, and completing academic research, as well as the many other ways students have demonstrated their dedication to scholarship and in doing so have modeled the mission of Southwestern College. To all of you, to all the students that we honor today, congratulations. And to the faculty who have supported, helped, and pushed these students to achieve, thank you for your commitment to the students, for your dedication to teaching. And to parents and friends who are here or who are watching live via the video stream in support of your loved ones, we congratulate you as well, because these achievements also reflect on your care and support. To begin the 2017 Honors Convocation, I invite Provost Tracy Frederick to the podium.
President Andrews, board members, faculty, staff, family, and our guest. I'm privileged to present to you the students who have distinguished themselves with special honors today. You may have noticed the two students in distinctive robes who led in our graduation candidates today. They serve as our junior marshals. These students have distinguished themselves as our top full-time students who are enrolled in campus-based programs and have earned between 79 and 110 hours inclusive, of which at least 30 are graded hours earned at Southwestern, having the highest cumulative grade point averages. Please join me in recognizing these outstanding scholars as they stand and receive our applause. Troy Fort, Morgan Hughes, and Taylor Needham. Our presidential scholars have distinguished themselves as students that have an incoming GPA of 3.75 or 25 ACT score. You will see their names printed in our program on page 2, and since there are too many to read at this moment, please join me in recognizing those scholars as they stand and receive our congratulations and applause. Those students who have been named to the list in your programs as members of the Dean's Honor Roll are those that have scholastic achievement of full-time undergraduate students during a single semester who earn 12 or more hours with a grade point average of 3.7 or higher. You'll see those names printed in our program on page 3 as well. And again, we invite each of those students, because we're unable to read all of those, please join me, everyone, in offering the applause of congratulations to those students as all of our Dean's Honor Roll members. Please stand. Our Phi Theta Kappa scholars are students who have distinguished themselves as earning and maintaining a 3.2 GPA. They are Laride Connerly Jr., Aaron Jeffries, and Timothy McClaskey. And I will ask them to stand as well as they accept our appreciation for their achievements and our applause for their academic distinction. Please stand. Our students work hard. They're resilient and they are tenacious in their pursuit of their academic careers. They give their time and energy to their organizations and activities. Because of that, they distinguish themselves in their service, their leadership, and their dedication to their majors and their organizations. You will note the evidence of that in our program that lists the students who are leaders, serve our college community and their academic areas with excellence. I ask all of those students who are listed in our program today who have not yet been recognized to stand so we can congratulate you for the honors that you have achieved through that service and leadership in your activities and in your field of study. Please stand as we applaud you. President Andrews, board members, faculty, staff, family, and our guests. We have distinguished scholars among us. They walk our halls every day. They challenge us as faculty members. And so students, we thank you. And for those students who are here, we continue to challenge you to do your best to challenge us as we all work together for our academic excellence and for always standing tall with Southwestern College and the traditions that we hold so dear. Thank you.
Our speaker today is Dr. Michael Springer. Dr. Springer is a professor of history at the University of Central Oklahoma. He earned his PhD from the University of St. Andrews in 2005. His research focuses on the early Reformation and more specifically on clerical reforms of the period and their impact on political developments and changing identities in early modern Germany. He is the author of Restoring Christ's Church, an in-depth study of the Polish Reformers' Ordinance written for the London Strangers' Church and its impact on refugee congregations in Europe. His current research project focuses on the first generation of superintendents in the Saxony, Thuringia, and Hesse, and their ideas about religious and political reform. In addition to teaching courses on Western civilization and historical methods, Dr. Springer offers courses on the Middle Ages, the Reformation, and early modern Europe. Since 2014, he has held the dual position as director of the university's Office of High Impact Practices. He is an advocate for innovative approaches to learning that integrate research, creative activities, civic engagement, and global learning into the classroom. An example of this is a course he's looking forward to teaching this summer, in which he will take a group of students to London to work on a book cataloging project with the archivists and scholars from Lambeth Palace Library and Archives, the Dutch Church, and the Institute for Historical Research. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Michael Springer.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'll tell you off the top here, this is my first visit to Winfield and Southwestern College. I've heard a lot about it from my colleague, Dr. Justin Olmsted, who I teach with down at the University of Central Oklahoma, who is a graduate of Southwestern College and also continues to reside here in Winfield and commute down. So I got today a chance to experience what his commute feels like, albeit in reverse. I was reminded with that introduction, this is a big year for Reformation historians like myself, because 2017 marks the 500th anniversary of the Protestant Reformation, marking 500 years since Martin Luther produced his 95 Theses, which sparked this movement in Europe, which brought political, religious, social, and economic change, both to Europe and to the West. And so that's certainly an exciting a year for someone like me. These anniversaries don't come along very often, obviously. But also there is a connection too with Martin Luther and what I'm talking about today, and I want to talk about innovation and education. And Martin Luther is reported to also have said that historians make the best teachers. Now, given my own career choices, that's really hard for me to argue against as a historian. But I think, as you'll see with my talk today about innovation and education, is that he was perhaps too narrow in his view, and that the best teachers can come from every discipline, and in fact do come from every discipline, as probably the students sitting here can attest to as well. And so on this point, I guess I will have to disagree with Luther. I'm really honored to be here speaking to you today and wish to extend my thanks to President Andrews and to Provost Frederick for the invitation to come here and speak. I want to thank the faculty who are assembled here as well. And most importantly, I want to thank the students, both those that are here in the theater and those that are watching from afar on the live stream. It's always a special moment when you get the chance to reflect back on your experiences at college, and I'm very happy and excited to be a part of that here, and I want to thank you for that opportunity. As you heard, my name is Michael Springer, and I'm a professor of history at the University of Central Oklahoma. I'm also recently elected as a counselor for the Council on Undergraduate Research in Washington, D.C., and I'm the director of the Office of High Impact Practices at my university, which oversees our undergraduate research programs across all the disciplines. So I'm very lucky with all of these different hats that I get to wear. And it's particularly through my work as the faculty director of our Office of High Impact Practices that I get to experience the power of education in creating innovative thinkers who can tackle the challenges that we face in the 21st century. And it's this relationship between education and innovation that I will speak about today. But first, I have one sort of housekeeping matter that I wanted to bring up. And that is, the last time I attended an event like this that was celebrating student success, it was for my sister who was graduating from a university in Arizona. It was sort of a different feel. Instead of being in a nice theater like this, we were in an arena which was normally used for ice hockey, but it was filled with family and faculty and the students, and there to celebrate their success. And when the invited speaker got up to take the podium, he brought no notes with him, but he then launched into a speech which lasted for 90 minutes, and he had a lot to say on a lot of different topics. I should have known, actually, in hindsight, that we were in for a long speech, because about the time that he took the podium, they opened the concession stands and started selling beer and nachos. And I have to admit, this is the only event celebrating student success where beer and nachos were served that I have experienced, and I expect probably will be the only one in my lifetime. But I just wanted to let you know up front two things. One, I have been asked to keep my comments brief, and the other is I brought with me my notes, right? So that I can stay on task, because as a history professor, it is possible that I have a chance sometimes of going off on tangents and getting away from the script, but I promise you today I will stick to the script here pretty closely as well, because the focus should be on the student achievement, and I want to keep the focus there. So I travel a lot for work, and am always on the lookout for good reading material while on the airplane. On a recent trip to Germany, I read Erich Weiner's book, The Geography of Genius. And I just have to say, air travel right now gets a lot of bad media attention, but I just love these long flights, because it seems like these days you get fewer and fewer moments where you can just concentrate on a good book, right? So no email, no phone calls, no text messages, and just read a good book. So Weiner's book, right, I took along with me on this flight, and he's an author and a former foreign correspondent for National Public Radio. And in his book, he set out to find what made creative genius flourish in certain places throughout the world's history. He was concerned with the question of why places like ancient Athens, or Florence in the Renaissance, or modern Silicon Valley, among others, had become centers for extraordinary intellectual power demonstrated by a high level of creative activity. What made these places special and set them apart from other locations, he asked. I should note here that Weiner defends genius as the highest form of creative activity. That is to say, a person who seeks creative and innovative solutions to problems and challenges that go beyond the obvious. So he's not talking about genius as defined by an IQ here, but rather by innovation and creativity. The book is a form of travel literature, which what made it great to read on a plane, in which Weiner writes about his visits to several of these places that were famous centers for innovation and creativity. In the end, though, he finds no common factor or set of common factors that can explain why genius flourished in these locations. The places he visited lacked shared characteristics such as climate, diet, politics, or economies that could shed light on why at different times in history they became centers of creative problem solving. Although the book does not provide a clear answer to the author's question, it got me thinking about the relationship between genius and geography. Examples of innovation and creativity abound outside of the centers explored by Weiner. Clyde Cessna modified a motorboat engine and used it to power his plane in the early 20th century, a move that set nearby Wichita on a course to become a center for aviation engineering and manufacturing. Phil Knight and Bill Bowerman's innovative shoe design and business model made Portland, Oregon, a hub for sports shoe design. And FedEx's first-of-a-kind computer program to track package shipments in real time has contributed to Memphis, Tennessee's rise as a center for innovation and creativity in shipping logistics. And I can use it to track my Amazon packages, right? These are just 3 examples, and many more can be found in towns and cities across the country. The highest forms of innovation and creativity exist in many places, including our colleges and universities, which seek to cultivate them as we prepare students for the challenges of the 21st century. It's no secret that we as professors use a number of methods to nurture innovation in our students, and I'm sure these will sound familiar to you. We integrate research with teaching, engaging students in research and discovery in the classroom. George Koo, a professor emeritus from Indiana University and the founding director of the National Institute for Learning Outcomes Assessment, noted the goal of embedding undergraduate research in the classroom is to involve students with actively contested questions, empirical observation, cutting-edge technologies, and the sense of excitement that comes from working to answer important questions. Incorporating civic engagement in the classroom is another method to encourage innovation and creativity. Connecting with community partners gives students direct and relevant experience with issues they are studying in the curriculum, and with ongoing efforts to analyze and solve problems in the community. In this way, colleges and universities help create an active and engaged citizenry. And I think our faith-based universities and colleges have really led the way over the years in this service learning and civic engagement. A focus on global learning, that is to say, exploring other cultures, life experiences, and worldviews, is a third method for encouraging innovation and creativity. We might call this form a form of thinking outside the box. It's no coincidence that all 3 of these methods are expressed in the 4 points of your college's vision statement, and I'm sure they sound familiar to all the students in the room who've experienced these in the classroom. Reflecting back on my own experience as an undergraduate many years ago, I can see how my own professors used similar methods in my education. I must admit, when I first arrived at university, I was a naive student and not well prepared for the tasks that lay ahead of me, and I think in that respect I'm was a lot like my own students that I have today. I stumbled through the first 2 years of my education and considered giving up on school. A history professor, however, he took an interest in me and my education, dramatically changing my experience and setting me not only on a path towards graduation, but also on a journey that has led me to where I am today. And perhaps many of you in this room can relate to these types of stories. At the beginning of my junior year, I enrolled in the dreaded research and writing course that was required of all history majors and minors. The course required I choose my own research topic, but I had no idea where to begin. After a couple of weeks of floundering, the professor asked me to come in his office, and I remember this meeting very clearly. I went to his office expecting him to encourage me to drop the class, and maybe to drop the major. Instead, he told me to forget about the topic for a moment. He asked me to tell him about me, where I was from, why I came to school, what I liked and disliked about the classes I had experienced so far. I remember thinking at the moment it seemed strange that he was asking me these questions, that he was taking an interest in me. I had not experienced this with my other professors. Although it wasn't clear to me then, I can now see how he guided the conversation towards my interests and passions. And I recall telling him about a rally I had participated in recently to save funding for the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. At the time, politicians in Washington, D.C. were discussing cuts much like we hear about today. And through this conversation, we arrived at a suitable topic for my research project that I was passionate about: President Johnson's Great Society and the creation of the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. The fact that nearly 30 years later, I can still remember the title of this paper is a testament to the transformation that I experienced through this course. My professor worked closely with me on the project. He taught me how to use government documents and presidential archives. He showed me how to find newspapers and magazine articles. And I should point out, this was in the days before the internet, when these things were more difficult to do. And I know some people in the room probably know what I'm talking about. He instructed me on the ins and outs of scholarly writing and impressed upon me the need for peer review and multiple rewrites. In short, he was teaching me the skills of my discipline, and perhaps more importantly, he was modeling for me what it meant to be a scholar. For the first time in my college career, I felt like an historian. It was a transformative moment for me. My experience in the class taught me some valuable lessons. In addition to the skills of my discipline, I learned how to integrate my interests and passions with my studies. History was not only about understanding the past, but suddenly it was also a tool for me to better understand the world in which I lived. My research project taught me to problem solve in so-called real-world settings. For historians, problem solving often means organizing, synthesizing, analyzing large amounts of data, and communicating the conclusions in a clear way that people can understand. Perhaps the biggest change, though, that I noticed after the research and writing course was how I viewed myself. I now felt like an historian and was developing my professional self. And I finally believed I could succeed, giving me confidence to continue my studies and to graduate. We shouldn't underestimate the power of confidence when it is justified. As Farid Zakaria noted in his book, In Defense of Liberal Education, confidence allows students to challenge their elders, start companies, persist when others think they are wrong, and pick themselves up when they fail. I began to fully comprehend the benefits of my experience 2 years after graduating. I was working at a bank and was part of a task force that was charged with comparing salaries in our bank with other similar institutions. It was a pretty boring job, really. But my colleagues and I had collected large amounts of data from banks across the country, and I was asked to write the final report for my team. I approached the job with the skills I had learned as an undergraduate. I organized and synthesized the data, drew meaningful conclusions, and presented it in a 20-page report, complete with a literature review and footnotes. My professors would have been very proud. My supervisors in the bank were impressed, in part because, as I later found out, they had expected a one-page summary, mostly just with numbers. But what really got their attention was the innovative and creative solutions I had suggested to addressing the wage disparity that my colleagues and I had found. It was somewhat difficult to communicate that we had found we were underpaid for what we were doing. But But they had not expected, certainly, these solutions, and they were impressed. In fact, many of these solutions then became part of the discussion as we moved forward about adjusting wages. And there was also a tangible benefit for me. I was offered a promotion as a result of my efforts on this report. My experience with a professor who took me under his wing, so to speak, and mentored me is not unique. Last summer, I was reading Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor's memoir, My Beloved World, and I was struck by her description of a professor who had a powerful impact on her. As an undergraduate student at Princeton, she explained, a professor had suggested she undertake researching a family oral history. She described a transformative experience through this process as she learned more about her family's own history. The project, she reflected, made the history more vivid and changed the way she thought about the supposedly mundane experiences of people, that these were lives lived with dignity and were something worth studying. She learned to see her relatives' lives in the broader scheme of historical cause and effect, what we might sometimes call historical context, the impact of citizenship granted to Puerto Ricans in 1917, World War I and World War II, for example. And through this project, she confronted her own bias and prejudice. It was a journey of self-discovery that's left its mark on her legal career. Phil Knight, the founder of Nike, also owes his business success to a university professor. So Knight was a student athlete who graduated with a journalism degree from the University of Oregon in 1959, and he described himself as an indifferent student. So after graduation, he went off and enlisted in the Army for 1 year, and then he went back to the Graduate School of Business at Stanford. And he describes how a small business professor, he was taking this course, and the professor asked the students to invent a new business plan and describe its purpose and to develop a marketing plan. In his paper, he explained his new business, a somewhat radical approach for its time to sell superior athletic shoes produced inexpensively in Japan. This probably sounds familiar to everyone in this room because we're certainly familiar with this model of doing business now, but at the time it was unexpected, and this is the beginnings of the shoe apparel company Nike. He described the class as an aha moment, right, in which he discovered he was an entrepreneur and that this was his passion. That is, being an entrepreneur was his passion. He was transformed and developing a sense of his own self through this assignment and this work with this professor. And of course, his innovative shoe design and marketing methods have made the company a leader in the industry. The three examples demonstrate some of the ways integrating research with teaching, incorporating civic engagement and global learning can transform students and foster innovation and creativity. These methods can help us engage students in learning and discovery, problem solving, connecting their learning to the world beyond the university and discovering who they are. You may also notice one common feature in each of these stories, the central role of a faculty mentor who affected change in the student's life. Mentors are more than advisors. W. Brad Johnson wrote a book titled On Being a Mentor, in which he explained these professors provide knowledge, advice, counsel, challenge, and support for their students' pursuit in becoming a full member of a particular profession. Mentoring isn't about developing a relationship, or mentoring, is about developing a relationship with the whole student, encouraging them to focus on research or creative activities as a means to learn about the topic while at the same time inspiring them to learn about themselves. I'm sure the students you sitting here in the front row probably recognize this and can identify those faculty who are here who have served as mentors to you. Students who are mentored get a chance to work side by side with their faculty, tackling problems, exploring innovative and creative solutions, developing confidence in their skills, and gaining a greater sense of self. As a mentor, I too learn and grow from each experience. This is in fact what we do at colleges and universities every day, and it's a noble aim. As I contemplated Weiner's book while sitting on the plane, it occurred to me that the important role of mentors in cultivating genius, as he defined it, had been overlooked. Perhaps mentoring should be among the criteria that can explain this geography of genius. 2 weeks ago, I witnessed firsthand the powerful impact mentors can have on innovative and creative thinking. I attended the National Conference on Undergraduate Research in Memphis, Tennessee, which brought together about 4,200 students from around the country to share their research and creative projects that they had been working on with faculty mentors. Every state in the country was represented. I travel to the conference each year, and it gives me great hope for the future every time I go. I met undergraduate students like yourselves working on cures for pancreatic cancer, looking at ways to improve traffic signals to move cars and people through our cities more efficiently, and exploring alternative methods for delivering textbooks to students with special needs. Students presented on innovative methods for teaching literature, historical approaches to grammar instruction as a means to developing future best practices, and the ways exercise can be used to alleviate symptoms associated with cerebral palsy. I also saw a number of artistic displays and performances that express the breadth and depth of the human experience. What I love about this conference is it brings together in one place the innovation and creativity that abounds at our nation's colleges and universities. And it's just one of many conferences like it that take place each year, and suggests to me that our colleges and universities should be included among the list of places that promote genius. With all of the challenges we face in our modern world, I think it is a good time to be at America's colleges and universities for just this reason. In closing, I wish to commend all of you in the room for your hard work as students and as mentors, and for supporting your students, for the families that are present. There is no doubt we face a number of global crises today, from climate change, the rapid spread of new disease and famine. We face challenges in our region too, such as water rights, the safest way to collect natural gas, and environmental stewardship. These problems we face will require innovative and creative solutions, of which I hope you will be a part. I encourage you to continue to explore, examine, analyze, innovate, and create. Now, I often hear people tell graduates that this is the best time of your life, right? You usually hear that around this time of year, around graduation time. And I certainly don't dispute that college is a great time. I had a great time, particularly my last 2 years of college. It is a great time. But I also want you to think a little differently about that as well. And that is, good times still lay ahead. Right? College is not the end of good times, but it is the beginning. The lessons instilled in you here, with the aid of your faculty mentors, will, I hope, set you on a path of being a lifelong learner and help you to tackle the challenges we face in the 21st century, affecting change in your community, towns, state, country, and world. Thank you.
Good afternoon. It is my privilege to announce this year's Master Builder Awards. For over 70 years, the Student Government Association, the faculty, and the student body at Southwestern has selected 6 senior students who have best typified the spirit of the college. The Student Government Association nominates a list of seniors, which is then given to the faculty. Any senior who receives a vote from a faculty member is then included on the list for the entire student body to vote on. Those top 6 students who receive votes from the student body are named a Master Builder for the academic year. I will call up the seniors one at a time to come up on stage to receive their plaque. Laride Connerly. Laride, make it. Sadie Fow. Abby Warnke. Seth Topham. Aidan Goodrich. Carlene Dick. Thank you, and I'll make sure they get their plaques.
Faculty and Staff Citation Awards. This award is voted on by the student body, and it is an award given to individuals who exemplify the builder spirit. This year's Faculty Citation Award is given to a religion professor who goes out of his way every day to help his students succeed. The Faculty Citation Award is awarded to Dr. Jackson Leisure. This year's Staff Citation Award is given to the man who makes Southwestern College grounds so colorful and beautiful each year. Southwestern has been lucky enough to have him on staff for over 25 years. The Staff Citation Award is granted to Mr. Larry Schuster.
As we close our honors convocation today, congratulations again to all the students. And also I'd like to take a moment to remind especially our seniors of something important. This is necessary because the next couple weeks are always busy, even hectic, lots of stress, lots going on. And sometimes this is difficult to remember, so here's the reminder. You are worthy of the education that you've received. You're worthy of marching up the 77 steps in commencement regalia. You're worthy of the opportunities and challenges that lay ahead for each of you. Southwestern College exists to help you realize your full potential, and it is moments like this ceremony where we explicitly remind you of your worth. We celebrate a milestone in the distance you have traveled so far as a lifelong learner. Indeed, this ceremony, these ceremonies that we see over the next couple weeks, these recognitions are for you reminders of how far you have come and evidence of how far we know you will go. You have worked and dreamed and taken chances. You've been pushed, maybe even pulled by faculty members or coaches or friends or families. But those dreams and that work and that pushing and pulling have formed you into builders that we are proud to honor and builders that we are excited to see go into the world. I'm looking forward to handing each one of you a diploma in 17 days from today. Again, all of our congratulations to you. We will end with Caitlin Holler leading us in the alma mater.
Love don't come from me. They come from the echoes of wisdom and courage that our faculty, our coaches, our staff have received, that you have cultivated, and that you have passed on faithfully and well. Students, seniors, soon to be graduates, you are the receivers of those echoes, those blessings of wisdom, of creativity, of hope and courage to go out and to change the world. Those echoes come as a challenge. We've taught you, we've walked beside you, and now we say it is your turn to take what you have heard and learned and to go and change the world with it. May all of you go in the peace and the love of God to be light for the world. Amen.